trying to think he was so better than Vasyl because I beat him the way I beat him, and then it didn't look too good for him. You see, he was bruised up more than I was.
And I come with more bad news for the Gervonta Tank Davis haters. Ring Magazine has made it official. Ring Magazine has stated that if Gervonta Davis and Vasyl Lomachenko fight next later this year, they will put the vacant ring belt up for grabs for the winner in the lightweight division. Wow. Breaking news. So this is great news for the fans of boxing. I guess Ring Magazine, they were then asked about, why is this being done? Why are they making the Tank Davis versus Lomachenko fight and the winner eligible to win such a prestigious belt, the longest standing belt? They put out this tweet and basically said because when the best fight the best, they have to make their belt a part of it. So I love this. This is great news for fans of boxing. And it's funny because you have the shapeshifters, the usual suspects, who are trying to hate on Tank prematurely because many people think Tank beats Lomachenko, so they're trying to denigrate and hate on the fight already. They're trying to suggest that Lomachenko's washed or he's old or this should be an easy win for Tank. And as a result, they're trying to belittle the fight. Even Shakur Stevenson, he did recent interviews and Shakur Stevenson is basically saying he doesn't respect Tank versus Loma because these guys have been in the division longer than him and they could have fought. But now that he's inching closer to a Lomachenko fight, he says now they want to fight. But I already made a video about that. That sounds foolish because the world doesn't revolve around Shakur Stevenson. The business permits what fight will happen next and won't happen next. If it makes sense for all parties, they do it, period. It's not about Shakur Stevenson. I highly doubt that the powers that be are sitting around at a desk like, oh, Shakur wants this fight, so we should make the fight to stifle him. Like, Shakur's brand, he's a good fighter, but his brand is not up to the point where his name is probably in consideration for a particular fight. If he did what Ryan Garcia has done and amassed this great following and made his name represent money on top of the skills, then I think he would have a better shot at getting the bigger fights that he's looking for. Plus, you look at his style, a lot of people complained about Shakur's previous fights, especially his last fight with Edwin De Los Santos. So I think that's why he's perhaps not in the running for some of these big fights, because boxing is a business. And at the end of the day, the business has to make sense for all parties involved, especially if it's a cross-promotional deal where Top Rank would have to work with PBC, et cetera, et cetera. But all in all, this is amazing news because it adds and incentivizes a Tank versus Loma fight, which have been confirmed that they're back in negotiations. As you guys know, Tank got a 8th round knockout over Frank Martin, and they were in talks before that, but it was contingent on Tank Davis getting through his next opponent, Southpaw Frank Martin, which he did via brutal knockout. And I got videos where I talked about that. So this is a great way to make the fight bigger. And I think this fight could do good pay-per-view numbers. And another reason that people are hating on Tank is because you have Tank's contemporaries and rivals like, let's say, Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. Shakur wants the Lomachenko fight, hasn't been able to get it, but the other guys, Haney and Teofimo, went 12 rounds with Lomachenko. So if they went the full distance with Lomachenko, neither guy dropped Lomachenko. We know the power that Tank Davis possesses. So if he is able to beat Lomachenko, it's probably going to be violent, where you at least see Lomachenko get hurt or see him get stopped, etc. And I think that's another reason people are trying to hate on this particular fight, because they know Tank could do damage. And if he beats Lomachenko anywhere near or similar his last several fights, he has almost all knockouts, then his star power will only grow. And they're already trailing immensely behind Tank in terms of sheer star power, especially with Devin Haney losing so bad and then getting it changed to a no contest versus Ryan Garcia. Tank he's already at another level, but if he wins versus Lomachenko, that's a great name and cap in the hat, and that'll take him to new heights. So that's why people are hating. But you can't stop God's work. Ring Magazine putting their belt on the line, which has been vacant for some time because no lightweight fight that has happened did they deem was worth the ring title. So it just lay dormant and vacant. This adds another layer of sellability with this particular fight, Tank versus Loma. And the Shakur hate never really made sense. Talking about like, why doesn't Tank fight Shakur instead of Loma? Loma is rated higher than Shakur on most of the major publications' top 10 ratings in the division. The top two guys on most, like where you look at Ring and ESPN, they have Gervonta, who's moved to number 1, and they got Lomachenko number 2, or vice versa, where Tank's number 2 and Loma's number 1. So at the end of the day, why would Tank not fight Lomachenko to fight Shakur, who's off of a bad performance? We don't know how it'll look next month with Artem Harutyunyan, but kind of a tricky style, so he might not get a knockout there. And he still kind of has to redeem himself from that last performance. So all in all, these are the top rated lightweights that are currently available. Frank Martin was the top 5 lightweight, and we seen what Tank did with him. Lomachenko arguably beat Devin Haney, and he would have been undisputed had he won that fight. And a lot of people thought he was robbed. And then he just came back and stopped Kambosos, something that Devin Haney nor Teofimo could do. And Devin Haney had 2 shots at it because he fought Kambosos twice in Australia, 24 rounds with Kambosos, and he never even dropped him. Lomachenko not only dropped him, but stopped him in his first fight in Australia. And I think Loma even said he had never really been to Australia before. So I think Loma definitely is coming off a sharp performance. He won every round with Kambosos, made it look very easy, and he stopped a guy who had never previously been stopped. So this is a big fight for boxing, and I see why the haters are hating, because that's what they do. But the real fans know what it is. And then with Ring Magazine making the fight eligible for the vacant Ring Magazine belt and labeling it the best versus the best, that just helps the fight even more.